Assalamu alaikum, ladies and gentlemen. Assalamu alaikum, boys and girls. Welcome to another mind-altering episode of Raw Islam with Imam Azhar. And we are in our first 10 days of Ramadan. I think I heard today somebody call them the 10 days of forgiveness. And here we are, and we are going. And I know we are recording late tonight. And also, for anyone that's interested, we're testing a live video stream thing too. And although nobody's watching right now because I haven't shared the link, but it's out there. Yes, I'm babbling because it's late, because it's Ramadan, and because we had to have iftar before we could catch up tonight. So let me stop talking and say Assalamu alaikum, Imam Azhar.
Assalamu alaikum to all our listeners out there. Peace be upon you all. And in addition to that, we say Ramadan Kareem, Ramadan Mubarak. May your month of fasting in the month of Ramadan bring peace and joy to you and your families. As Carl said, yes, we have officially entered the month of Ramadan. And we're just 5 days into the month now. And it's been a great experience, as it always is. And just to touch on what Carl just said, the first 10 days are specific, as are the second 10 days, and especially the last 10 days. The first 10 days of Ramadan are the mercy of Allah, and the second 10 days are forgiveness from Allah, and the last 10 days are emancipation from the hellfire. So we are now halfway through the nights and days of mercy. And the whole purpose of Allah's mercy is to draw attention to that person or to those people who are thus yet to figure out the blessings and importance of the month of Ramadan. Somewhat of a signal to let them know, hey, look here, it started. And hopefully through that mercy, it draws their attention and their focus, and they direct themselves towards the blessed month of Ramadan.
Yes, don't mind me. I'm actually I will share and we will edit this out later. But so there's a bunch of us that use a lot of the same equipment, and I'm just looking at what I've got going here, and I was going to send a picture to someone and be like, look, see what we're doing? But yes, we are in the days of mercy, in the days of forgiveness, and it's funny how that came to me today, because I do work with a lot of Muslims in my day job, as they call it, and there's been some slacking around the office on specific tasks, like recording work and stuff like that. And somebody I work with sent an email and said, we are in the first 10 days of Ramadan, the days of mercy and forgiveness. So we're not going to count what happened before today, but moving forward.
I like that.
So yeah. So tell us, we had a good discussion last week, and that will be up. That'll be up. It should have already posted by the time this goes up. But yeah, so continue with your story to tell us where we are.
So, Carl, there's a few things I want to discuss today that I hope our listeners could absorb through listening, contemplate, and share their thoughts. What really drives us is your thoughts, your ideas, and your questions. I have a lot of questions on my mind. Number one is, we call these the first 10 nights of mercy. How can you describe it as mercy when we just had a bombing in Afghanistan, followed by killings in Portland, followed by bombing in Iraq, where one of the children that died was a 12-year-old girl from Australia who went to Iraq to visit her grandparents for the blessed month of Ramadan. And then we had the horrific bombing this morning in Afghanistan. And I think I forgot in between the Portland stabbings. So let's be realistic here. We talk about mercy. Question number one is, where's the mercy? In the last week alone, we've seen so much killing and bombings and ruthless tyranny, acts of tyranny. What's going on? The second part of mercy that I want to question is, we talk about Ramadan being a holy month, but some of us can attest to the fact there's more inclination towards sin now than there was before Ramadan. So, if this is a month in which the devils are tied down and it's a month of Allah's mercy, why then am I having this inclination towards sin? Number three, it's a month of mercy, and I'm constantly feeling these pangs of hunger and thirst, and it just doesn't sound right because if I'm fasting, I'm supposed to be blessed. I'm not supposed to be concerned. I'm not supposed to be upset. I'm not supposed to be agitated. Agitation is usually the last hour of fasting where a person becomes very chippy in their attitude. It's like, don't even ask me, don't even say anything because I'm just going to blow. And so the question is, Carl, today, a 3-tier question. We say it's the month of Ramadan, a blessed month, a holy month, a month in which God sends down infinite blessings on his creation. Number one, why are there so many killings and bombings occurring? Number two, why is it that I feel that sinning is something that I want to do? And number three is, why do I have to suffer in order to gain from God's mercy? Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes sense to me. I mean, all of those are very valid questions, and I know, I think it was, I think we did miss something before the bombing in Afghanistan today. There was something else because I remember seeing a post. Oh, the Coptic Christians in Egypt. And
yes, thank you.
And I remember seeing a post from somebody that I knew, and they were like, this is Ramadan. Why are we doing this? What is the malfunction? This is not how Muslims are supposed to behave in general. Mm-hmm. And then to be doing this in Ramadan is just ridiculous. There's no need of any of this ever for any reason, especially this time of year.
Carl, sometimes I think to myself, is this a deliberate smearing campaign going on behalf of ISIS and those so-called, not even want to question I don't want to question who they are. I don't waste my breath on that. But it's truly contradictory to what the standards of Islam are. So let me give you some background here. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, whoever commits suicide will continue to commit suicide in hell for eternity. So if a person killed themselves, they're going to continue killing themselves in hell, not even heaven. So where does the justification of suicide bombers come? I know our topic is Raw Islam, and to my fellow listeners, I want to assure you, we're not going to continuously talk about politics and global incidents, but it's imperative at times when these things keep on popping up, we give an Islamic touch to it, which is raw, which is unaltered, which is without sugarcoating. So we need to understand a person who kills himself, doesn't matter in whose name he kills himself, and in result kills others. The Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, said, you're not going to heaven, that they're in hell, number one. Number two, in the days of ignorance prior to Islam, amongst the Arabs of Hijaz and the Arab tribes in that land, that region, which is partially now Saudi Arabia, you found that there were 4 sacred months that was commonly known amongst them. One of those sacred months is Rajab, which was 2 months ago. The other 3 are consecutive, Dhul Qa'dah, Dhul Hijjah, and Muharram. Muharram is the first month of the Islamic calendar. Dhul Qa'dah is the second to last, and Dhul Hijjah is the last and the month of pilgrimage. So in the days of ignorance, when they were battling and those months began, they'll say, hey guys, let's stop here today. We'll see you in 30 days. They'll literally stop war because it's a sacred month. It's a sanctified month, and they revered it. They revered it enough that they would say, let's stop and let's see where we start back after a month. So even people who had no faith in Islam and they were not believers in the Islamic faith because Islam wasn't introduced yet, they had enough decency. And that's my point. They had enough decency. So you know what? Let's stop here. Let's move on. Now, I don't want to be the person that judges, nor do I want to be anyone who categorizes whose faith is better or not. But if someone claims to be a Muslim, the least they could do is, in this month, let me stop my nonsense. ISIS could have said, let's stop the bombing. Let's stop the killing. But this is 100% proof to anyone out there who's listening, and anyone out there that will listen in the future, that this is totally contradictory to Islam. So you need to ask the question, which position does this hold in the faith of Islam? Where does it stand in Islam? When it has nothing to do with the faith, is it part of the faith? Is this the faith?
No, absolutely not. This really has nothing to do with Islam. It has nothing to do with any of our beliefs. It has not. I mean, we've talked so often on this show because unfortunately these things happen, and we've talked about this over and over and over again, that this is not Islam. That you know. I'm trying to recall some of our previous episodes where we've talked about this, and it's this is not what happens. This is not how Muslims are supposed to act or react or anything like that, because it's even I'm trying to remember, it might have been episode 12 or 13 where we talked about the treaty that he'd drawn up, and the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, he didn't wage war and he didn't punish people, and and even in Ramadan, like you said, they would stop. None of this is Islamic. None of this is Islam, and it's the stereotypes that are built into the media because I don't know what. And I know where I'm going with this, because where I'm going with this, where I started to go there at the end, was that I saw a thing the other day, and I think I've shared it with you, at least verbally, that of all the Muslim things that happen, they only have like 3 Muslims on the news talking about Muslim issues. Yeah. And it's like, well, no wonder we're silent, because you're not asking us about stuff that isn't Islamic.
Well, that's a big part of the problem, Carl. But I'm going to take this a step back, because we get fixated on the fact that this isn't Islamic, this isn't Muslims, this isn't the religion, this isn't the teachings or the doctrine, but this isn't humane. It isn't civil. It isn't right. When we can look back and say we've made great advancements in how we have civilized ourselves throughout the ages. We talk about the caveman, and then we talk about the 21st century human being. We're worse than the caveman, in the sense that they try to communicate how to survive. We're trying to kill each other in the name of survival. Now, let's draw a few lines. The Coptic Christian bombing, bus bombing, thank you for bringing that up, because I'm not watching the news. I totally am not. And the little bit of social media time I take out to connect, these things pop up, and I'm like, you know what? I don't want to drain myself. Why? I'm not alluding to the fact that I don't care. No, it's a month wherein I need to focus inward so intense that I can emerge from this month better equipped, stronger, and more well connected to my Lord, so I could make a better move in the world. If I'm not going to help myself, I can't help the world. So the news is going to continue to unfold. Incidents, unfortunately, are going to continue to happen. But there's a time where I'm going to say, you know what? I need to figure things out for myself so I could go out and do a better job. And that's exactly what the month of Ramadan does for us, to better introspect, cleanse, and replenish our souls so that we could be better servants, just like they say on the plane. Please put your mask on before assisting others. So we put our mask on first. That's what we're doing. So the Coptic Christian bombing, number one, very simple answer to that. The Coptic Christians and the Muslims have been living together in Egypt for centuries. For centuries. The fact that it's happening right now should be alarming. It's not something in the name of the faith, because the faith was more rich, more powerful, more well tuned in those days than it is currently. So again, It's a civilization issue. It's a humanitarian issue. These are what we're going to categorize as terrorism that has reached a level that we are now threatening the humanity and civility of each person on this earth. Number two, the Iraq bombing, which was such an intense bombing. This again goes to show the barbaric acts of people in the middle of the, in the nighttime when kids are out having ice cream and people are having fun. I just flicked through a video on Facebook where a girl was crying and talking about how her friend, 12-year-old, is going to Iraq to spend the month of Ramadan with her grandparents, and she told her, well, there's bombs and stuff. She said, don't worry, I'll be fine. And we find out today that she also died in that tremendous blast. We're going to now turn our attention towards Afghanistan. A humongous blast today. I don't know, 90 people, I believe, are killed. Please don't take my numbers because I'm just scrolling quickly on these things. But a large number of people died in Afghanistan today, as they did in the beginning of Ramadan. And to top it off, the Portland attack. Now, fellow listeners, what I dreaded the most in my life after this post 9/11 world that we're living in is exactly what transpired in Portland, Oregon last week, where a man was adamant to kill two girls, one of which he was telling her, go back to Saudi Arabia, go back to your country. And when he came forward to harm her, three men stood up to defend these two girls, and he slit the throat of two of them, and he slit the throat of the third one. Two of them died. They are martyrs, and one of them is now recovering in the hospital. Now, Carl, I just came back from a peace rally at the University of South Florida, where we did a vigil and a discussion pertaining to what happened in Portland, Oregon. And I want to just reiterate my words, what I said over there. And that was, my fear has come to fruition because Al-Qaeda, Taliban, ISIS, and the whole 9 yards of the lunatic club, these people can't come to America. Let our listeners understand that. Forget just America, many countries, they can't just come on Al-Qaeda Airways and land in New York airport and dress like in suits and tuxedos and get through immigration. People who are American citizens, people who are Europeans, people who are not even Muslims have hard time in immigration. So they're not going to just come into this country, but they will come into this country through the airwaves. They're going to come into this country through their propaganda. They're going to enter into this country through your mind, and they're going to make you do what they wanted to do. But you know what? They're going to make you do it better. So what they did after 9/11 is instill fear within our society. Our world here changed. The protocols when it comes to traveling, when it comes to trains, planes, when it comes to the roadways, when it comes to parking lots, when it comes to public events, the whole dynamics change from intense security and scrutiny and checking and second inspections. It just changed. Why? Because they succeeded in instilling fear. That fear led to doubt. That doubt led to miscommunication. The miscommunication led to a void. This void created a crater between those who feared the other and the others who were feared for no reason. And now there's a big crater between the non-Muslims and the Muslims. And now what's happening is they are in a situation where they're being told, we instilled fear, we continue to propagate this propaganda and brainwash you. Now it's time for you to turn on each other. Carl, the guys that he stabbed and slashed and killed were not Muslims. They were white Americans. 75% of Portland, Oregon is white. And he said in court that this wasn't terrorism, this is patriotism. And he'll kill as many people as he wants to in order to prove his patriotism. What they've done now, and I blame the media. I totally blame the media, because if you can't have a Muslim come on to your channel to discuss the issues that you have legitimate concerns about, but you'd rather turn to someone who also has legitimate concern. I think we spoke about this once, Carl, the blind men being asked, what is the elephant?
Yes.
And each of them, right? Each of them are describing their own version of it because they feel that whatever they're touching and sensing is the entirety of the elephant. So it's like a person running from a fire asking the other person who's trying to escape the fire, where do we go? They're both stuck. They're both in the same predicament. So the fact that you haven't reached out to us, the Muslim community, to create dialogue and understanding as to what doubts lie in your mind. Number two, you continue to push their agenda by giving them that free publicity, by playing over and over again their messages of jihad and their orange jumpsuits and killing and beheading people and drowning people. You're going to continue to do that. This is a result that humanity is turning on humanity. Human beings are turning on human beings. This is the pinnacle. This is the straw that will break the camel's back. And I fear, Carl, in a little time, we may be at the point of no return.
And I don't think it's just. I'm getting that echo again. I think it's coming from your computer.
Okay, let me just put the volume down. How's that?
We'll find out. That's better. Thank you. It really it's. That is a thought that I have been struggling with myself. And I don't just mean within Islam and Muslims, but in general, as a whole, as a society, I'm struggling with where is our maximum capacity and what happens when we hit that capacity. Because there's only so much we can do, and we know that there's investigations going on, and there's trials going on, and there's wars going on, but how much damage is going to be done? A lot of this stuff politically, especially with Trump, you see this, where there's smoke, there's fire, but right now there's just smoke. Hey, you know what? As somebody that's been in fires before, let me tell you, smoke causes damage.
Mm-hmm.
And where are we going to be left to clean up that smoke damage? Who's going to be with us to clean up that smoke damage? Whether it's from what ISIS and Al Qaeda and these clowns, what the damage they're doing, or that we're doing to ourselves as a society within our own borders. Who's going to clean up the smoke damage that's here?
Well, Carl, that's the big question, and that's why I said something today on social media after the rally. I'm not here to fight Islamophobia. I'm here to establish peace. So they could continue doing what they want to do. I need to work rigorously and with full focus on what I need to do. Who reaches their destination first, that's still to be told. But by chasing them in their destination, we're only going to end up close to where they're going. We have to go the opposite direction. Hopefully the masses follow us. So it's a very strategic game that's being played here. What happened in Portland, Oregon is evident that we're on the tipping point, and this could happen all across America and all across the world. This is exactly how Abu Musa Zarqawi brought about civil rift and war within Iraq. That's how he continued to bomb Shia locations and turn Shias against Sunni. And that caused a civil uproar and a civil war. And that's what's happening here in America. We need to stop listening to others and start listening to each other. And this could go on and become a topic of its own, Carl. And I want to just address a question I asked in the beginning. Where's the mercy? The mercy, my fellow listeners, is in the fact that we acknowledge that this is wrong. The mercy is in the fact that we are trying to address this. The mercy is in the fact that we're trying to turn this around. The mercy is the fact that we're trying to wake up each other and wake ourselves up simultaneously to understand that this cannot happen anymore. The mercy is in the fact that we're comforting one another, that we are coming closer to each other, because when the storm is looming, we don't scatter. When the storm is looming, we get down together and we clamp down together. So society needs to come together. We need everyone on the table. The far right, the far left, and everyone in between needs to really come together, huddle down, because a lot is at stake. So that's the question that I asked in the beginning. Where's the mercy? The mercy is there. We just need to find it. The mercy isn't in the bombings. The bombings and the killings, innocent killings, are all excuses for us to stop these things. We hope our governments could stop mass production of weapons, because at the end of the day, it's going to get in the wrong hands and someone's going to use it for what they want. Although you didn't create it for that purpose, someone out there is looking for it. So, Carl, the second part of the question that I had asked was, where's the mercy when I feel inclination towards sin more than ever? A person's looking at their eyes are constantly wandering, and they're constantly lying, and they're backbiting, and they're slandering, but this is a month of mercy. What does this do to me? The reason that it's the month of mercy, and where the mercy lies within it, is that it's showing you that these are actions that you are being bothered by, that you're questioning. The mere fact that you're questioning these actions is a mercy from Allah to show you that these things aren't kosher and these things need to go now. So it's due time to tell yourself, enough is enough, I'm going to walk away. You see, the miracle of medicine isn't on a person who is healthy. The miracle of medicine would manifest on a person who is truly ill. Does that make sense?
Say it one more time.
The miracle of medication doesn't manifest itself on someone who's already well. It rather manifests its beauty on someone who's ill. So there was a friend of mine in the former city that I used to reside in when I was imam. He had stage 4 throat cancer, right? And that's deep, right?
Yeah.
And there wasn't much hope, but there was one treatment that they wanted to try on him. And guess what, Carl? The guy is walking and jumping and skipping and laughing today. He's doing good. Alhamdulillah, his cancer's gone. So if a person doesn't have cancer, what benefit would radiation or chemotherapy or whatever medicines are out there show to him? Nothing, right? So when you are in this phase and you're acknowledging that, hey, I'm still back by adultery, I have this need to go and commit adultery and I'm fasting, it's to show you, this is it. This is the problem. Now, overpower those with your focus on fasting, your focus on your Allah, your focus on your self-rectification process, and you can uproot these things. Not only can you uproot them, but ultimately you can substitute them within the 30 days with something better. Why not try something better? A person's accustomed to milk and cornflakes with a teaspoon of sugar. Well, why don't you put a squeeze of Hershey's chocolate syrup in there, or strawberry, or even caramel? Try something different. You want to make it sweet, but there's so many other things that you can use. So what Ramadan is allowing me to do is identify. So that's the mercy of Allah, allowing me to identify my wrongs as I question the existence of those wrongs at a time when I feel the devil's supposed to be chained up. It's not the devil. It's inside of us. We're not here to fear the devil or run from the devil. We're not here to flee the devil. We're here to run to our Allah. So that's the second question I wanted to address regarding Ramadan, Carl, is that if you're having an extra inclination and pressure towards it, that's because that internal nafs, that desire is saying, I want it. And you're like, no more. So that battle's going to occur for a good 10, 12 days. But I promise you, just by when 30 days finish, you don't feel the hunger anymore. In the same way, those desires will be suppressed and reduced, that you won't feel them anymore also.
Alhamdulillah. Sorry, I just noticed that there was an error on something here, and I'm just looking at it trying to figure out what all's going on. Sure. But anyway, yes, you are 100% right, as always. That was a very odd choice of food, I will say that, because my father has a very extremely bizarre diet, and oddly enough, cornflakes and the Nestle Quick is all he eats. So it's really odd that you just jumped right to those examples. But yes, we should be running to Allah at this time. And so my daughter from my previous marriage, she lives with us, and we've been talking to her about taking her shahada and stuff like that. But one of the lessons that we were talking about over this Ramadan, when Ramadan began, was that the devils and the whatever, the devils, the evil jinn, whatever you want to call it, they're locked up for the next 30 days, 29 days. So anything that occurs, which is what you were saying, but anything that occurs, it's inside us. Mm-hmm. It comes from inside. Mm-hmm. So, I always make the joke that if something bad happens, that person's obviously just a jerk because that's why it happened. But, mm-hmm. But yeah, I mean, you're 100% right.
Well, Carl, if Allah didn't give us this opportunity, we could have never acknowledged clear-cut truly where the problem exists, right? Sometimes right. You have to shut down all the water valves. You have to shut down the water main to figure out exactly where the leak is. And you'll find the toilet or the pipe that the leak is occurring. But you have to take some drastic measures in order to find out exactly where the problem is. So these drastic changes are occurring only so that we can acknowledge the problem is within us. We all are weak. We are feeble. We have flaws. No one's flawless. No one's perfect. So acknowledge them and address them. That's all it takes. See, paradise is only in that. Acknowledge your problems, address them, try to root them out, and constantly be in battle with those vices that take you down, because they don't take you down morally or spiritually. They take you down as a human being. They take you down mentally. They take you down and drain you. So you just have to address them. And that takes me to the last question I had from the beginning of the program, which was, if it's the month of Ramadan, a month of blessing, and the first 10 days of mercy, why do I have to feel the fatigue, the exhaustion? And Carl, today at 7:23, I think it was still 94 degrees here in Florida. So why do I have to feel the intense heat and humidity? Yeah. Like, where's the mercy in that? And the answer is very simple. The mercy is in the fact that you're putting yourself to the test. I don't know if I gave the example before. I think I did on the show that when we were growing up, my brother and I used to love our shoes. And so he would kind of make the jump first and I would follow. So he got the Air Jordans, I followed. He got the Air Max 2, I followed. And we would be meticulously there cleaning our shoes every day with a toothbrush to make sure it's clean and nice. There's no creases on it. But these are shoes that you're supposed to play on the court with, right? You're supposed to maybe get stepped on with those. They're going to get creased up. But you put it to the test and stop idolizing it. Then you understand what the benefit is in it. In a similar fashion, all we're doing in this world, all of us, regardless of our faith, we're pampering our body. You go to GNC, how to take care of the body. You go to Dillard's, you go to Macy's, you go to Neiman Marcus. It's all about creams and substitutes and supplements and clothing and how to look good and how to feel better. But you know what? No one's ever satisfied. You got last year's spring collection, you want this year's spring collection. You got the leftovers from winter's clearance and you want to buy the new winter jacket when it comes out this year. The body's never satisfied. So it's going to complain, but don't take the body's complaint as an alarm. Take it as, what? Good for you. You're hungry. You could be hungry one day. We look at our brothers and sisters around the world, regardless of their faith, from the Horn of Africa that are facing drought, the people who are facing flooding in Sri Lanka, the people in Yemen who are dying every 10 minutes, a child is dying. And you ask yourself, is my religion so much about myself? What are they thinking at that time? Imagine yourself that child that has 10 minutes to live because you're the next one going to die. What comes across your mind? Oh, I wish I got that slice of pizza. I wish Domino's came here early. No, you're like, you know what? It's not worth it. Even if someone brought you a hot pie and they bought you, dessert and a 2-liter bottle of Coke, got 10 minutes. It's nothing. It means nothing anymore. So what the mercy lies within your internal struggles of physical body. We talked about the habitual struggles. Now we're talking about the physical struggles. Don't take them as a void of mercy. That is mercy, because you are told that work on your soul and energize that soul more so that the body stops complaining, because you know very well your body will never stop complaining. It's always going to want more and more and more. So be amongst those. And Carl, there's a story in the Hadith that truly exemplifies when you are driven by your soul, who you become. It's written in the books of Hadith that there was a battle and many people were wounded. And this person called for water to his nephew. And the nephew brought him water. And a person who's dying, one of the last things that they want is maybe a nice drink of water, Carl. Just want to get that sip of water down, right?
Yeah.
And he put the vessel to his mouth, and he heard a pang of pain from nearby. He told his nephew, go give it to him, go give it to him. So he ran to him and said, here's the water. The guy put it to his lips, and he heard another cry for water. So he goes, give it to him, give it to him. So he ran to that guy. By the time he got to the guy, he died. He came back to the second guy, he died. When he came back to his uncle, he too died. That even at that desperate moment for that last sip of water, like, you know what? It's okay, we'll let it go. Why? Because it means nothing to me. What means more to me now is that generosity and that act of kindness that I show right now. It may be helpful to me in the long run. And that's exactly which one of the two martyrs of Portland said when he was bleeding out. He said, tell everyone on this train I love them. And that shows that's it. That was mic drop. That was it. That at that time, you didn't say, tell the guy if I had life, I would have killed him also, or I'm going to get vengeance or revenge. No, I love everyone. Because what drives a soul is love. What motivates a soul is goodness. What drives the body is selfish. What drives the body is so self-absorption, like so about yourself, to the extent that you will kill someone else for it. You will step on someone else's rights for it. You will trample over someone else just to get it. So Ramadan is a month of mercy. And the bombs that are happening and the killings that are happening is only to wake us up and say, enough. The internal struggles of desires and lusts and passions and backbiting and slandering is to tell us, take it out of you. And those complaints from your body is only because it doesn't want to be second and your soul becomes first. But I promise you, and these are my closing words, that if you empower your soul and you make your soul the driver of your body, the captain of the ship, the navigator of your affairs, you will feel true bliss, happiness, prosperity, success like you've never felt before. Try it.
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
So with that, ladies and gentlemen, we want to, as Imam Azhar opened the show, we want to say Ramadan Kareem and Ramadan Mubarak to everybody, to all our listeners. And we want to thank everybody for downloading and listening. And we want to thank everyone for the likes and the shares. And hopefully when we have video that's live, it'll be a completely different, a whole new dimension of what we're doing. So I want to thank Imam Azhar for taking time out of his day to join me this evening, because I know it was a crazy evening for both of us. And in fact, we met like 3 hours after when we're normally supposed to do this. So it was just that crazy. So until next week, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, we will say Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum.
2 Iraqis came here to this country, were radicalized.
For that terror attack overseas.
Total and complete shutdown of Muslims entering the United States.
First of all, we should develop detention centers for them.
Everywhere there is Islam, you'll find women oppressed.
This has been a production of the VennNetwork.